Welcome to NKT Automotive.
This video is about my struggles and triumphs, going from playing on a controller to racing on a Logitech G29 wheel. What I wanted was fun, immersion, and precision. What I got was the greatest challenge in all my years of playing racing games. I've enjoyed playing racing games for decades now. I've had a great time outrunning cops, racing against digital cars, bikes, and speedboats. But my heart goes to the many Dirt and Gran Turismo titles, including a splash of the best Need for Speed entries: Porsche Unleashed and Most Wanted 2005, featuring the iconic blue and silver BMW M3 GTR that was lost to and later won back from Razor, whose real name is Clarence, and Clarence's parents have a real good marriage. Anyway, I was playing Dirt 2 and decided to get a wheel for my PS4 Pro when I was influenced by repeatedly crashing into the racing wheel manufacturer displays. It's ludicrous when you mess up and ruin a run, ending with the wrecked car buried in a Logitech or Thrustmaster sign over and over again. Even a hard-nosed and stubborn marketing skeptic could be moved by these proficiently planned pieces of product placement. So I began digging for more info. I watched a string of videos, product reviews, product unboxing, product showdowns, and folks debating whether or not a product was a worthwhile upgrade, until I decided that the G29 had the features I was looking for. With the choice made, a challenge was born: to adapt to the wheel after many years of using a controller or a keyboard, and try to surpass my best times in Dirt 2 and GT Sport. In Dirt, the game modes that I played the most were Rally Time Trials, where I aimed to get within 20 seconds of the fastest driver's time; the online daily rallycross time trials, where I would aim for a top 50 spot; also the daily and weekly events, where I aimed for a clean finish. In GT Sports, my main activities were time trials, racing against friends, and messing about in scapes. The long search for a good second-hand wheel came to an end when I snagged a great deal from a fellow on Carbonite, which would be concluded 3 weeks later. I wanted to create a good yardstick to measure my progress with the wheel while I waited for it to arrive. I decided to take my skills with the controller as far as they could go by pushing hard to beat the best times that I had set so I could defeat them with the wheel. In Dirt, I selected a few tracks from my favorite locations and set an array of new personal best times on several rally stages, piloting the glorious 2-liter Citroen, the spicy Mitsubishi R5, and the perfectly balanced historic Class 3 BMW. In GT Sport, I set new times at Spa, Brands Hatch, Alsace Village, in the Group 3 Aston Martin, and the Super Formula car, Toyota to be specific. I also pushed to complete a tough unfinished event in the Circuit Experience mode, the Nordschleife, in the twitchy and punishing Group 3 BMW M6, eventually earning a gold medal time. When the G29 arrived, I had completed so many laps with the controller that my left thumb had a hard callus on it. As I was plugging in the various devices and admiring my new setup, an apprehensive feeling poked me as I recalled what a sim racing buddy of mine had once said. He told me that I would be a lot slower with the wheel. His words haunted me as I thought, despite the immersion and fun factor, it would be silly to get so hyped up, spend so much dough, and end up crashing into those very same billboards. He was right. The learning curve was steep and the road to proficiency long and bumpy. I loaded Dirt 2 to have a go. By the second half of the first corner, it was obvious that I was no longer the master of control under extreme pressure. I was spinning out, not carrying speed, performing sloppy handbrake turns, braking too early, braking too late, locking up the wheels, and feeling dejected as my car careened off cliffs, dove into rivers, and smashed into every barrier, rock, fence, and tree. I was slow, I was crashing, and I was not having any fun. The go-to cars I was most comfortable with were now beyond my control, and the reasons were beyond my understanding. Desperate, I considered creating a new profile for Dirt, starting from scratch to learn and practice what it takes to master the wheel in the Mini Cooper, build up the skills from the bottom in the slower cars, and progress to the faster cars. Before that drastic step, I slotted in the GT Sport disc. Hoping for a better experience, I took the Aston Martin DBR9 to Spa for a spin and found that driving on the asphalt rather than the gravel, the wheel stopped vacillating between shaking my table to pieces and feeling light and disconnected with no way to tell what caused the change. Compared to Dirt, the Ford Feastback in Gran Turismo was a lot clearer in what was being signaled. The wheel was far easier to maneuver, less stiff and less heavy. I began practicing in GT Sport, looking to perfect each element piece by piece. I set the gearbox to automatic so I could focus on operating the steering and pedals effectively. Slowly, I began to develop a feel for what was happening. Little by little, I learned how to make the right inputs at the right instant. Gradually, I was able to coordinate my movements with confidence and precision. Eventually, I switched back to manual sequential and figured out the trick behind holding the wheel while changing the gears. Regularly, I found myself dipping into the flow state and having a good time. The clumsy errors were many, but far less dramatic than before, and within a week or so, I defeated my time for Spa as well as Brand Hatch in the Group 3 cars. Next, I began hunting the Nordschleifer M6 time, ultimately beating it by 6 seconds. Armed with a few insights and newfound zeal, I loaded Dirt again. The plan was to emulate the GT Sport force feedback, so I changed the inane default settings from 100% for all the sliders to more balanced, less intense settings, dramatically improving the feel and smoothness. No more wrestling with the wheel just to drive straight. The greatest improvement came from adjusting the steering saturation, making the front of the wheels of the virtual car turn a bit more for a given rotation of the steering wheel. Lastly, I changed the camera view from the hood camera to the bumper camera, matching the perspective I prefer in Gran Turismo. I had avoided this camera in Dirt before because the scenery flying by at full tilt was way too frantic and distracting. Plus, the camera is very close to the ground, so the shorter viewing distance hides the rocks and the bushes that are easy to spot from other perspectives. As time passed, I found the bumper camera to be more immersive, intuitive, and accurate. Now, when I try the hood camera, just for old time's sake, it doesn't feel engaging at all. The moment I was comfortable with the settings, it was time to visit the land of the All Blacks, to take on the same 6.6 kilometer stage as the video linked here, where I drove the BMW M1, M2 and M3. The mission to beat my controller time of 4 minutes and 25 seconds in the 2-liter Citroen was on. I spent days chipping away at the time. My first clean run was more than a minute off the pace. I improved steadily, reducing the delta. I was flat out to 30 seconds, drifting to 20 seconds, and trail baking to 10 seconds. Until 5 seconds away from the target time, I hit a plateau. The attempts were clean and consistent, but for a day or two, I could not get any closer. Determined not to get stuck in place, I turned the progress bar on and gathered some intel, finding that I was going faster in sectors 1 and 3, but losing all that time and more in sectors 2 and 4. I tinkered with the tuning to coax out a little more grip and acceleration from the car, softened the suspension, loosened the diffs, and took the final drive to the lowest setting. The result was exhilarating. In a flash, it all came together and the golden path was clear. I could sense what my car was doing, directing its trajectory with finesse and confidence, moving and reacting with the prescience I never had with the controller. I could feel the pace was good and pushed harder, getting within touching distance of the target time, just 0.8 of a second away. Heart pounding, mouth dry and feeling jittery, I got rid of all distractions, turning off the progress bar and the music volume way down low. It took 2 more tries to do, but I beat my target by 3 seconds, and I was 18 seconds away from the fastest time on the leaderboard, achieving 2 objectives at once. Elated, I did what any sim racer would do. I went to the menu, hit restart, and shaved a few more tenths off that time too. I needed a month to match and exceed my performance on the controller. It was a great challenge and a pleasure. If you are thinking of dumping the controller for a wheel, I certainly recommend it because racing with the G29 has been a fantastic experience that lifted my enjoyment, immersion, and pace. Thanks for watching.